Good afternoon. I apologize for not changing after practice. I've been a little bit busy for the last couple hours, and I have not had a chance to watch the tape, but it's been exciting for sure. I thought we had a good scrimmage today. I would like to have had a few more reps if we had stayed just a little bit healthier. We have some minor things. Jamel Morel only played about 7 or 8 plays and had a little lower body issue that I don't think is serious, but I feel like he's played enough football that if he wasn't 100%, there was no need for him to be out there. Some early observations without looking at the film. I thought Gary had a good day. I'm sure there's going to be things he's going to see on film that he's going to want to correct and maybe make some decisions a little bit differently. But in terms of throwing the ball with accuracy and making full-speed decisions, I was very pleased with where he's at after the first week and a couple days of training camp. I think the 3 running backs who carried the ball the most, 28, 34, and 32, Savon, PJ, and Justin, all did a nice job today. I felt like we could win with all 3 today. And overall, I think I was pleased with the overall effort of the team. I think it was a physical scrimmage. It looked like a fast scrimmage. I would like to have had a few more plays, but hopefully we'll get those in this week as we have to do it. And with that, I would open it for questions.
Good, just raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you.
Tom.
Kyle, how soon after you watched the film you talked about maybe making adjustments to the depth chart and the 2B? You think you'll do that?
I think we have to do that tomorrow night. You know, the coaches will be reviewing the film. We have some recruiting things that we're attending to right now, and then the media day of the Fan Fest. So the coaches will be working on the film into the night and tomorrow. We will not practice tomorrow, and the coaches will spend most of the day tomorrow evaluating the film and talking about adjustments to the depth chart, so that when we meet as a staff tomorrow before we meet with the players, whatever potential moves we may make, we need to be ready to make them tomorrow night and then get ready for the start of week 2.
I know a lot of things pop out on film after you watch it, but can you talk what you saw of Lumpkin and what you saw of Longa in the middle?
It's easier for me to speak, I think, about Keith only because I stood behind the offense during the scrimmage, and I think the best thing I could say about Keith today, other than the one false start, was that I really didn't notice him. And I thought the offense functioned pretty well. And for his first opportunity, first pseudo preseason game at left tackle against a good defense, I'm very encouraged by not noticing him. And now we'll look at the film and really diagnose it. I have to wait until after I see it for Steven, only because from where I was standing, I didn't have a great sight line to him.
Just going back to Gary, just talk about the way he threw the ball downfield. It seemed like he was particularly accurate on some of his deep throws today.
I don't think that is something new for Gary. I think he's made those throws in the past. What probably was the most impressive thing today was the consistency with which he threw the ball. That is, I think, the product of a lot of hard work and a lot of studying, a lot of film study, a lot of training that he's done from really the day after the season last year until now. And I couldn't be happier with the progress he's made. And I know there's a lot more progress for him to make. And I know he understands that as well, and he'll be back at it working on Monday.
Coach, it seemed like you used the tight ends a lot more. Did you make a conscious effort maybe to get them more involved?
It's not a conscious effort necessarily to get them involved. Every play has a progression, and depending on the defense and what they do, the quarterback's eyes need to move in a certain direction, and today they moved to the tight ends a little bit. But I thought there were a fair amount of balls thrown to the receivers also. But either way, that's not really what's important to me. What the most important thing to me is that Gary's going through his progression and taking the throws that the defense is giving him, and sometimes those are longer throws, and sometimes those might be throws to the tight end.
Along the lines with Gary, are you seeing the fruits of sticking with him last year now? I mean, is this where that pays off for you in the development he's had?
I felt all along that for a quarterback to really mature in this offense that he needed to play. And that meant playing through success and playing through some days that aren't maybe your best days. And Gary experienced all those last year, the highest of highs and some days that were low. But I thought in all those cases he came back ready to work. He came back willing to accept his mistakes as his and then try to correct them. And when we got to the offseason, he continued that process and he came back this year in the best shape of his life. He came back a smarter football player, and he came back a player with the benefit of having started and completed 13 games last year. And I think you're seeing all that right now.
Coach, I don't know, I'm probably a little ahead of myself, but have you prepared a little differently this year because it's a whole skill of new teams that you're playing, how you adjust, how you put your team together?
We really haven't. And for us, as we get ready for each season, we have a philosophy of how we want to play football on offense, defense, and special teams. And then you always have to adjust your game plan to the schemes of the other teams and to the players of the other teams. And when the teams change, that certainly could be adjusted from time to time. But even sometimes when the teams stay the same, the coordinators change. And then those books, the old books get thrown away, and now you have to create new books depending on what they're doing right now. But we've approached it the way we have in every other season, and we've already taken a look at Fresno, even though we're not practicing that yet. We'll get to that a little bit later in training camp. But the way we've put the team together is the way we have every other year.
Kyle, what stood out to you at today's scrimmage with the live special teams parts of the scrimmage?
I was disappointed our coverage teams didn't do a better job. And I was pleased with the way Miles returned the kicks, and I was pleased with the way Janarian returned the punts. But I was a little bit disappointed in some of those younger players on the scout team who were running down trying to cover the kicks. I'm anxious to look at the tape and see if the effort is what it should be, because it was almost, I thought, a little bit too easy as they were coming back.
Kyle, also, can you talk about just the play of Carew and Patton today?
I did notice both of them. Leonte, it's not a surprise. It would be something that I would expect. Leonte Carew is going to be an excellent football player here, and he's already proven that I think he can play and perform on a high level in games, even though it was on special teams last year. He's somebody who made plays that helped us win games, so that doesn't surprise me at all. He's had a good training camp so far. I think it's a big step for Andre Patton. It's his first time down in the stadium, and even though it may only seem like practice 11, it's not. You go down to that stadium, and there's media there, and there's families there, and it's different, and that's why we do it, and we want it to be different. And I think he reacted well to it today, and I'm excited to see the tape and excited to see what he can do next week to still try to earn his role on this offense.
Kyle, the flip side of Gary's big day was the secondary gave up quite a bit of passing yards, and I think Gary only had 2 incompletions. That was something you said before camp. You were really going to keep a close eye on the secondary. What did you come away from today learning about the secondary?
I have to look at the tape to see what exactly happened, but I don't need to look at the tape to say this. There were some very well-thrown balls into some tight coverage and some excellent catches made by the receivers. I think 3 of the completions in the 2-minute drill were back shoulder catches. And that's really, really good execution. And I'm not so sure that they could have been defended. With that being said, though, I think we have to evaluate it. And we have to look at every player in the secondary, make sure we've got them in the right place, and make sure the depth chart is the way we want to give us the best chance to win.
Kyle, after changing up the O-line in the spring, are you starting to see what you want out of that group now?
I still think we can run the ball better. I still think we're going to need to run the ball better. I'm not displeased. That's not what I want that to sound like, but I think we can do a better job. What excited me the most up front today, I think, was watching Batim at center. Batim really looked like the game slowed down for him today at center, and that's really what you want. He saw some blitzes coming. He was able to do some things in protection that I haven't seen him do in the past, and he looked like somebody who's played as much football as he has. And if you have a center who can do those things, you immediately become better up front.
How comfortable are your linemen and backs with what Coach Prince is asking them to do in the run game?
I hope they're never comfortable. I hope they're always on edge. I hope they're always trying to learn more about it. I think they are at a point now much further along than they were in the spring in terms of what Ron is looking for out of them. And I'm starting to see it on film. A lot of the drill work that you do with players early on, it's a little bit of leap of faith for the player because they don't always see the fruits of their labor right away. And they have to believe in the system and believe in the coaches to continue to do those drills, knowing that at some point it will show up in the competitive environment. And I think the players are seeing the fruits of their labor show up in the competitive environment. And that will create a new level of trust and belief, not just in the system and the coaches, but between the two of them.
Kyle, what were you looking for with the emphasis on first down to start the scrimmage?
We started doing that last year, and really it was a way to get enough first down plays, on schedule plays, not knowing how a scrimmage is going to go. If you have a scrimmage where the defense may be a little bit more dominant, you end up with a lot of off schedule plays, and maybe you don't get enough runs in the scrimmage or as many as you would want. And that was just our way of guaranteeing ourselves, hey, here we're going to take 25 first and 10 plays and play football and see if we can stay on schedule on offense and see if the defense can get us off schedule or create an off schedule environment without having to go to second and third down and then play the scrimmage. And then you can almost play the scrimmage and see what happens. You don't have to be as conscious of it. It makes the day a little bit easier to manage, I think, for the coaches.
Kyle, bigger picture. I know you've said a couple times that this, when you've been asked, this doesn't feel like a transitional year, but can you just talk about, because obviously the players from outside sources are hearing a lot about the Big Ten. Are there any specific things you guys have done to shut it down within this facility and make sure that their focus is on this year?
I can't have any control over what the outside world says to the players. Everybody, including myself, I have family, I have friends in the neighborhood, and different people are excited about different things, and that's great. That's part of what being a fan is. But for our team and our players, there's only one thing to be focused on, and that's winning the conference championship and going to the BCS for the first time in the history of our program. And we are squarely focused on it. The team is focused on it, and when this season's over, we'll think about the future.
Kyle, are Gary's mechanics better this year as well? I mean, have you seen a marked difference in the way he's throwing the ball?
I saw Gary make some spectacular throws last year. I think now he's doing it on a more consistent basis. I think that comes from a couple things. One is the experience of playing in games. That always helps. The experience of having another offseason, of spring practice, training camp, that helps. But also, I don't think you could ever discount having another year in the strength and conditioning program, because Gary's in the best shape of his life. Does that equate to better mechanics? I don't know, because I saw Gary make great throws last year. But does it equate to more consistent mechanics? I would think it does, because there's much less likelihood of any type of fatigue, because he's in the best shape of his life.
Any other questions, Coach?
You talked yesterday about just today being like really the first line of demarcation for seeing guys that are going to have an impact on game day. You mentioned Justin Goodwin at running back doing a good job. Were there any other freshmen that stood out to you today, like Sebastian Joseph, guys like that?
Sebastian stood out to you?
Stood out to me, yeah. Just freshmen that stood out to you today.
I would say, I would agree with you. I thought Sebastian stood out to me because he almost ran into me one time as he came through the line of scrimmage. And Sebastian's a big human, and he moves fast, and I'm not very athletic, so I didn't even know if I could get out of the way. But I think Sebastian did stand out. I think he's having a good training camp so far. And I thought Andre Patton stood out. I thought he made some plays today, which is exciting. I don't know if they're the only ones who stood out, though, because I think until we look at the film, with the naked eye, you see different things. You see things differently from your perspective up high than even I do on the field. But certainly those three players, I think Janarian Grant is exciting to watch. Some of the things he can do. Where he'll fit. We're still trying to figure that out as a staff, and hopefully the film will help us. I thought Justin Goodwin accounted for himself very well today, judging by what I saw on the film. Now we'll see if judging by what I saw on the field, we'll see if I still agree. When we put the film on.
How important was the work for the young secondary today, just to get live bullets and go through this process?
I think it's critical. I think those guys have to play, and they have to play together. I don't, even though you have, Lorenzo and Jeremy in the back end and TJ at times, those are guys who aren't freshmen. They're not guys who've played with each other either. So they have to build a communication and a chemistry, and that happens day by day. And Lou Toller is by no means a rookie, but he's playing with other players, and that's new to him. And whether it's Garif or whether it's Ian Thomas, whoever the pieces are on the field, there's a lot of moving parts that have not moved together, except for in practice. And then today they got the first chance to do it in the stadium. So when you get an opportunity like that, it's really our first preseason game. and the NFL gets 4, we only get 2. So we got a lot of work to do this week to get ready for the second one at every position.
All set? Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of the day.